Okay, welcome, Shireen. I just want to introduce you to Shireen. Shireen has been on my workshop. I think it must have been, oh gosh, Shireen, how many years ago now when you came and did body spin with me? Like 14 years ago? I don't know. I haven't had a look, but I know it was a long time ago.
Yes.
You had just lost your job, or you haven't lost your job. You had, I remember your balance very well. You had felt put down because you had trained someone to take over your position, or not take over your position, but train them in your position, and then they end up taking over your position, which you weren't prepared for that. That was a shock for you. And then you lost your confidence. I remember your story so well, going back then, all that time ago.
Wow, you're so brilliant. You have a good memory.
No, I remember because it impacted your confidence even on the workshop. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so by doing that balance, I think it helped you to go forward feeling a little bit more confident when we did the workshop. So that was a long time ago. And since then, you have attended some workshops. I haven't done one-on-one sessions with you like this before. So this is going to be a first time. And for those people who might be watching this recording, whether they be students or whether they be non-students, just people who are curious to understand how I work with a long distance healing. So what I do is I work with a body chart with your handwriting underneath. This was a group healing, so we have to ask permission, obviously, from your higher self for you to be the surrogate, and then we ask permission that all those other names can go under the chart as well. So you can do that for one person, or you can do it for a group. We've done it for a group because we're going to come together as a group for global healing as well as for the group healing. So I've used you to be the person representing the group this time, whereas before it was me, so that I could help people understand how we kind of use these words to lead us into a story. And we do that very much in module 2, where we need to understand to help facilitate the understanding of that with the client, so that they can go into the more subconscious mind and bring it to the conscious awareness. So then it helps them to move forward, to take responsibility in some way or another. And sometimes it doesn't even matter if we don't know the story, because on an energetic level, it still shifts and opens up avenues for change without you being consciously aware. So it just depends on the individual, how much you want to share, how much you don't want to share. So what I always say to my clients is, the deeper you go with the healing and the feeling, the actual healing goes much deeper. So when we're trying to access something that is in the past, it's probably showing us a pattern that's reflecting currently. So it goes to the root cause of whatever is creating that pattern, or the reactions and the emotional triggers to that pattern. And so with this balance, you're going to see it's not a current time frame. So how do we heal in that, with something that happened in the past now? Well, we go into the feeling. The body doesn't recognize any difference between what you're feeling now when we're doing the healing to, how in that time frame to how you're feeling now. So it recognizes that this is how you're feeling in the moment, and then that's when the healing actually takes place from that space in the body. So let's get started, shall we, with the words. I did give them to you already, and there's a whole lot of words because this is a group balance, so it's more than normal. When you're working normally on a one-to-one, you might just get 1 word, 2 words, 3 words, or 4 words, and not normally more. But we've got a lot of words here because we're representing a bigger group, perhaps why more words come up. It was the 12th chakra that came up to be balanced, and I sent some information so that you can do some research on what the 12th chakra represents. We don't have to understand these body points, and sometimes when it's coming at a higher dimension like this, we don't always understand the story either. But we're going to give it a go and see if we can understand what it's all about. And if we don't, then that's fine as well. We'll just trust in the process that it's going to be unfolding something. And when the group comes together, maybe we might come up with some other things with the shared information that comes through. So while I'm connecting with you, I am dowsing with my pendulum to check yes and no answers while we're talking. So then I'll know if we're on the right track or not. If you were with me physically, I'd be muscle testing you and using my pendulum as well to double check information. But it's worked well for me like this over the years with working like this. So I feel confident to be able to present it for others to be able to have a look for themselves and maybe even try it out for themselves if they're already, qualified practitioners. But you need to be level 2 and have done the master classes with Jeff, because you're dealing with emotions here, so you can't just work without knowing this information and being qualified with it. Okay, so let's have a look and see. I'm going to douse the words as they come up and see if we can find a word that might just lead us into the story. I'm assuming you've given some thought to it, but let's just see what comes up energetically as the word that's going to lead us into the story. So we've got wrong direction, senility, depression, and before I go any further on the other words, I'm going to stop at depression because depression is coming up here. And I'm assuming, without going any further, this is our priority word to start opening the conversation. So there's not a life field as such, what we call a life field, which connects us to a particular area of our life that it's impacting. But there is a time frame, and the time frame goes back 9 years ago to 2011. So for you in particular, can you associate depression with anything of what was going on for you in that time frame, Shireen? Whether it be your emotion or anyone around you or what was going on, would it have been to do with work or your personal life maybe? Can you kind of associate with that in any way?
2011 was actually a good year for me. So, because remember, I had retired in 2010.
Right.
And in 2011, my youngest son was married. So actually, the stress levels was during, we're going back to 2008.
Okay.
From 2008 to 20 was the difficult period for me. But after I retired, I put all that behind me.
Okay.
So I don't see how depression.
Okay, no, that's fine.
2011.
That's absolutely fine, because it doesn't mean to say.
Unless it was.
Yeah, it doesn't mean to say you were in depression. Even the fact that you were coming out of depression might be just leading us into the story. So yeah, so I'm checking, is this the story? And I do believe it is. So I'm going to progress further to see what this is all about. So you had been through a very bad patch and you had now come out of depression. You were actually coming into a good space by 2011. Your son was getting married, and what else was going on in 2011?
Lots of good things happened in 2011. It was the wedding, and then they were like, we had new family integration, new relationships building, and we had a new extension done.
Wonderful.
So, sorry?
Yeah, so in other words, the next word is magical. So it was, in fact, a magical year.
Everything was unfolding very beautifully.
Wonderful. So can you associate?
So I was actually.
Sure, you were breaking up a little bit there.
I was going into a good space.
That's fantastic. So then perhaps this word magical maybe just showing you that you would come out of this depression in 2011, and these magical things were unfolding for you. Your son was getting married and all of these other really good things were happening. So that would have seemed very magical for you, I would have assumed, after coming out of such a deep depression with, you know, your life not being at its best just a year or two before. How do you feel about that word magical? Would that relate to that?
Yes, I can relate.
Yeah, okay. So I'm asking, do I need any more information on that word magical? No, because these words are just like leading us into a story, and I'm just dissecting it like a jigsaw puzzle, and I'm just putting all the little pieces together. So that's what I'm doing. Okay. So I'm just checking to see. So in a sense, I'm putting you into this positive space now. It's not, doesn't have to be all about negativity when we're doing a healing. Sometimes we are reinforcing the positive. So in this case here, you would be in that space of coming out of confusion prior and coming now into a place of, you know, feeling positive, and maybe even being able to make a positive affirmation about this, like, you know, you're more relaxed and more at peace.
Yes, 100%.
And that's kind of how it felt for you around that time. Okay, so this was what I picked up as well, because that was one of the words. It was a positive affirmation. And the word was confusion. And here it's leading us into you coming out of that place of confusion and coming into a positive space. So how did you have to do anything on a spiritual level at that time to reinforce this positive, or just was it the unfolding of the positive events that helped you to feel things were coming right for you? Were you using your life alignment healing, for example, at that time in 2011? Or, you know, can you remember how things changed? Was it just the fact that your son was getting married, it brought joy into your heart, and these other things that were happening in your life?
Yes, I have been doing a lot of life alignment healing on myself in order to bring me to a better, to actually escalate my spiritual balance. And then I was involved with our temple.
Yes.
And being involved with the temple, I learned a lot.
Sure.
My spiritual upliftment and
everything supported you there.
Me in that time.
Fantastic.
So,
and Shireen, I know I'm going off the track here a little bit, but I do know you, and I do know what you've been through, because I know you had health issues as well. And those health issues manifested in what year for you?
In 2014.
Okay, so this is 2011, 12, 13, 14, just 3 years later, you had serious health issues.
Yes.
Yeah, but you've overcome.
So I've overcome that now, and I'm on my way to recovery. So that phase of my life has now passed.
Fantastic. Another positive in your life, and maybe your spiritual life. Yes. And everything that you do helps you to overcome these adversities, and maybe that's why you are just being the perfect person to represent our group today. Not that it's going to be one of those weepy sessions, but it's going to be a happy session, creating positivity and hope for people. Okay, so What would this word obligation mean for you, do you think, in the context of this story and for that particular time frame, 2011? So here you are, you're out of depression, you're back now into this year. And remember, we're doing this coming back to bringing the feeling into the body that you had at that particular time, the sensations of what that felt like with all this these joyous things to look forward to during 2011. But what was the obligation? What did you have an obligation for or to or with? What do you think that word is? And then you had the word fear connected with failure and senility. So I'm just wondering what those words could mean, and wrong direction. Have you any idea?
With wrong direction, I can rightfully say that you remember the time when I was working, the department that I initially was employed in was a comfort zone for me. And I think making a decision to move to other departments for improvement or for promotions and things was actually not the right thing to do. Had I remained in the company, the department that I initially started with, I would have progressed and I would have flourished in that department. But I had a lot of colleagues around me who influenced me, who had an influence on me, and always told me, you know what, you can't stay in this department, move ahead. And probably making the decision to move out of that department has brought in all the insecurity, the sense of failure, the sense of fear, and the lack of confidence.
Right. So that's kind of a story that you would like to forget, because you think that was the root cause of your depression, and then after that, you know, what all those stresses you had built up in your body and ended up with you having cancer, and then you had overcome the cancer and all of that, but you realized that that had affected every area of your life. So in a positive sense as well, Shireen, thank you so much for representing us today, to be a person who has got so much courage and so much positive energy to overcome such incredible adversity, which you have, and you know, with your health and everything. But we always say the issue is in the body's tissue. That's our slogan for Life Alignment. And you can see with your own experience that, you know, if you were looking at what fear does to us and how it makes us so ill, maybe you're here representing us as a, you know, and our group today and the world today, to share that proof that when we've been through incredible stress and been in a depressed state, that it really affects our physical well-being. And when we overcome that with our spiritual life, like you did, you're in a place now of feeling relaxed and at peace.
It's true.
I'm just putting this together because I do know you, which is helping me to guide you into what these words mean. Because I think for a lot of people, they wouldn't mean anything, but I put all that aside when I'm doing this, what I know, and I'm coming from a different space of putting together this without trying to influence you. If it doesn't resonate with you in any way whatsoever, please, you must just be honest and say, but does this, at this moment in time, now this story, does it resonate with you? So now we've got these words and we've got the story. What do you think this balance that we're doing for everybody on the vortex pattern, disconnected from reality and illusion, is for? What do you think that is for within this story? How do you think that shows a pattern for you of disconnected from reality, or something that may be an illusion of sorts? Can you see in the past, going back maybe before you came into this better space, that there was a disconnection somehow? Do you recognize a pattern there? It doesn't matter if you don't, it's fine. Our patterns are not easy to see. Okay, that's fine. Maybe, you know, when we get the others together in a group, they may be able to represent that within their own stories and share with us. So were you consciously aware, Shireen, of making any new choices back then in 2011, when you came out of that depression and then you were coming into a much better positive space, and going maybe more into your spiritual life? Were those the kind of new choices that you were making for yourself then? Can you remember what new choices you were consciously making for yourself that opened up these doorways to your life becoming now more positive, more supported spiritually, energetically more supported? Is 2011 around the time you did the workshop, for example? I didn't look at my records to see when you did, which year you did the workshop.
I'm not 100%. Not 100%.
When did that job position change for you? What year was that? Can you remember? Because that had just happened.
That was in the year 2000.
Okay, 2000, but now we're 2020 now. So that had, I thought that when you came for that session with that group workshop with me, that it had just happened. It seemed to me that it had recently happened. Or was that a pattern that you've been carrying around with you since 2020? That fear connected with failure because of that changeover when you trained that girl for your.
Oh yes, to train that girl. I think it was in 2005. That's when it happened.
Was it 2005? Okay, I want to check the records there, but anyway, it's probably, it was quite a long time ago, and that had a big impact on you with your fear connected with failure and everything. So can you remember, because I had one of the guiding questions here was make new choices. So I'm just wondering and exploring with you if you were consciously aware of making any new choices for yourself when things started to improve in 2011. What new choices do you think that you had made for yourself? Was that when you followed your spiritual life? What changed?
The choice I made was to take my retirement.
Yes.
And I felt better after doing that.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you took your retirement, is that when you did the workshop or before you retired? Had you retired when you did the workshop? Can you remember?
Was that for module 2?
No, body spin. At the end of at that time, I don't think we even had body spin, so it would have been module 1, the very first course when I taught you at my brother's place at the Albion guest house in Morningside.
Yes, that was in 2005.
Right. Okay. Okay. So
yes.
then that's how far back we go. That is 15 years. Is
exactly.
that possible? 15 years has gone.
Yes.
Since
ever since then, that pattern followed me right up until the end of my career.
Right. That pattern of what? Which is the pattern you're recognizing?
The pattern of fear of failure.
Right.
The obsession.
Right.
And the wrong direction.
Okay. So maybe in a sense that was also associated with disconnecting you from reality. Maybe we don't have to say a yes or a no, but there's a possibility that maybe that's linked in with that pattern for you. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Excellent. So as far as this particular balance is concerned, I'm just looking at my notes here. I don't think there is any more to discuss because we've got the story, and it seems to me that we're just representing to the group a couple of points here with your story, which I've already highlighted. And the one is that you had come from a very depressed state into 2011, where everything started to come right for you. And going back to even 2005, your depression and this whole pattern that was falling, was making you fall, actually, not falling into place as such, but it was being created as being something that was a cycle for you that just went into every area of your life, that you carried that fear. And then when you have a fear of failure, you don't even want to start something, and you get very nervous because you think it's going to fail. But
yes.
You have proven otherwise. You have proven completely otherwise, because you went from being incredibly nervous. Let's say it's 2005 when you came on the course, because you still carried that pattern with you, that fear of failure, disconnected from you, disconnected from your true potential, your real self. And since then, you've been building up on it to the point by 2011, your life already was starting to look really positive. And then a few years later, just only a few years later, all of this past stuff now showed up in your physical body. Everything that you had been internalizing, and you had to work with getting your health back together while you were building up your strength and overcoming. You had chemo or just radiation? Did you have both?
Yes, no, I had both. I was diagnosed in 2014.
Yeah.
And then in 2015, I had both 2 cycles of chemo and 30 radiations.
Wow. Wow. Now, if you were to ask your higher self why you got that cancer and what lessons you've learned from it, Shireen, would you like to say anything there, coming from, a space of maybe learning lessons from the past and what's happened? And what new choices, what advice would you give to others if they were going through adversity such as what you went through, that affected your confidence and then affected your health?
Actually, I would think it's more in the mind. I think going through what I've been through has dampened my spirit. And you're not in the right frame of mind to make good choices, to make good decisions.
Right.
Hence you are harboring all your emotions. You are unable to speak it out. You're unable to talk to someone.
Shireen, can you say that I and not you? Can you say I? Own it. Yeah.
I was unable to speak to anyone about my feelings, my emotions. I was unable to think clearly. And I used to be lost for words. I used to struggle. And the one thing I always wanted to do was to study and improve my education, improve on things that I really wanted to achieve in life. But I suppose for some reason, I felt stuck. I was stuck in the zone and I couldn't find a way out. I know initially in my life, when I was married, I had married into a very big family, hence the family responsibility. I was fairly young when I went into marriage. And I'm not sure if it was the responsibility of doing things for everybody apart from myself. Hence, gave a lot of myself to everyone.
Right. So what would your realization be then, Shireen? What comes to mind for me is love yourself first, because if you don't fill up your own cup, how can you give to others? And we're brought up as a certain generation, maybe our age or whatever. You know, my mother, I remember saying to me, don't be selfish. You must always think of others first and that sort of thing. But if you're doing it at neglecting yourself and giving to everyone else, how good are you actually then at giving to others when you haven't given yourself that self-love and nurturing? Maybe that's been your lesson?
It's a lesson, but in our culture, it's actually very difficult to do that. It's very difficult to put yourself first. And
sure, but you've learned to nurture yourself now because you had to, and when you had a life-threatening illness, it had to be you first. So what would you say to others out there about self-love and nurturing yourself despite of your cultural beliefs and all of that? What would you have to say to people as a message, as a parting positive message?
is to love yourself, to accept yourself, to forgive yourself.
And there's not,
and to believe
and believe
and
in,
to believe in, yes,
to believe in yourself. Absolutely. Yes. So it all comes down to self-love, and under self-love, self-worth, self-acceptance, and all of those things. Oh, Shireen, thank you so much. Thank you. I'm really, really grateful to you for sharing your story. And it's a story that's got a positive ending. And I'm sure it's not the ending yet because you've still got a long, long life ahead of you. But you see, life is a journey and we are going to hit adversity every now and then. We're not going to get through it too easily without having the right mindset. As you mentioned earlier, you said it's all about the mind. And if we can help with facilitating people through this, would you say, apart from your spiritual guru and everything, can you say how you feel life alignment has helped you?
Life alignment has helped me immensely. It has brought me in the right frame of mind. It has helped me to actually reconnect with myself.
Absolutely fantastic. So this disconnection that we are balancing for now has really already worked for you because you're already feeling connected with yourself. That is fantastic. Thank you so much, Shireen, for everything, your participation and everything. And I truly hope that you representing this balance has a shift for you. And I would like you, please, if you don't mind, to still continue journaling about this revelation of what this balance has meant for you. And maybe there might be still more stuff unfolding for you between now and Tuesday. It's Saturday now, and then we got Tuesday where we do the group discussion on your balance. Maybe other stuff might come up for you or unfold for you. So if it does, we would love to hear what that is. So we look forward to chatting to you on Tuesday. I will be sharing this with your permission to the group. And it's going to certainly be inspiring for them, and for whoever watches this video, I think it's going to be very inspiring and hopeful for people.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity. I hope it helped, and I hope I have been a good candidate.
You've been an absolutely awesome candidate, showing how you've actually come through it. You've come through it. You've come through a really rough time, and through the power of your mind and through the support, spiritual support, and with the work that you've done, it's paid off for you, Shireen. And I've seen you change. Like, you know, I don't think you could have done this video call 10, 11 years ago, but you're sitting there quite confident now and open. I can see you've opened up enormously, and you are really being your true self now. So really, congratulations. Your hard work has taken you to where you are today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shireen.
And I should also thank you for your guidance. You've guided me a long way, and I think it was your positive energy that has rubbed off onto me. So I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you, Shireen. Thank you so much. Bye now. See you on Tuesday.
Problem. You're welcome. Thank you. Bye.